There are people who don't just lose energy. They have their manifestation energy stolen without realizing it. One day, they're full of inspiration, connected to their purpose, feeling like the universe responds to every step. The next day, the glow fades, ideas cool down, and what once flowed simply stop. What happened? Where did that invisible force that moved everything go? For decades, no one dared to speak openly about this. It was a topic treated only among mystics, consciousness researchers, and initiates who understood what happens when two minds connect in the same vibrational field. But one man, a scientist and visionary, named Itzhak Bentov, decided to break the silence. He observed, measured, and proved what everyone felt but no one could explain. Manifestation energy can be drained, diverted, even stolen. What he discovered wasn't theory. It was consciousness mechanics, an invisible system that connects thoughts, emotions, and results in the physical plane. And within this system, whoever maintains the most stable frequency governs reality. This revelation disturbed the scientific world but awakened the gaze of spiritual seekers, because it revealed something few have the courage to admit. Not every failure is lack of faith. Sometimes it's vibrational interference. In this video, you'll understand what really happens when someone feels envy, when they admire too much, or when they connect to your creative field. You'll discover how the simple act of talking about your dreams can open gaps through which your energy escapes, and, more importantly, you'll learn the code of silence that protects your manifestation until it becomes unshakable. Prepare yourself. What you're about to hear now isn't a common story. It's a key to deciphering the hidden mechanics of human consciousness. In the 1970s, while the world was enchanted with the space race and technological advances, Itzhak Bentov was involved in a different race, a silent, inner journey in search of what he called consciousness engineering. During his deep meditation experiences, he didn't just observe the mind, but mapped it like a scientist observes an electrical circuit. Each impulse, each pause between thoughts, was a clue about how the universe processes existence. Bentov wasn't seeking mystical enlightenment. He wanted to understand the code that connects thought to matter. One night, in front of the rudimentary equipment he had assembled himself to record his brain waves, something began to happen that defied any logical explanation. The sensors captured subtle frequency variations that didn't correspond to his own habitual patterns. It was as if an invisible field was responding to external stimuli. And the most disturbing part, these oscillations happened precisely when people close to him were in moments of great enthusiasm, inspiration, or achievement. The phenomenon seemed to follow a non-local logic, as if the boundaries of the human body didn't exist. Bentov dove into this with the clinical eye of an engineer and the sensitivity of a mystic. He realized that when a person manifested something significant, an achievement, an idea, a synchronized event, there was a kind of subtle frequency transfer between the bioenergetic fields of the people around them. This transfer wasn't symbolic or metaphorical. It was measurable, vibrational. He began recording recurring patterns, frequency curves that repeated, as if the entire reality breathed in unison with human consciousness. Over time, the unease grew. Bentov understood that what many called coincidence was actually a hidden mechanism, a precise engineering of the quantum field of consciousness. When a mind focused intensely on something, it created ripples that propagated through the invisible fabric of space-time, interfering with other consciousnesses. And the more intense the emotion involved, the greater the amplitude of these waves. Thought, therefore, wasn't just an internal activity, it was an energetic event that modified the subtle environment. What disturbed him for weeks wasn't the fact that he had detected this mutual influence, but what it implied. If a person could emit a frequency capable of affecting another, then manifestation, what we call the materialization of a desire, could be influenced, intentionally or not, by minds connected in the same vibrational field. This realization placed human consciousness at the center of a complex web of energetic interactions, where nothing truly belonged only to whoever created it. Bentov began calling this dynamic, structured synchronicity. He believed the universe operated as a conscious feedback system, in which each thought emitted was received, interpreted, and re-emitted by the quantum field. But there was something even more intriguing. He noticed that certain people, unconsciously, fed on these emissions, absorbing part of others' creative impulse, as if they captured the energy of a manifestation in progress. The phenomenon, which he initially interpreted as energetic empathy, revealed itself to be a much deeper mechanism, a silent exchange of creative power. The impact of this discovery was overwhelming. Bentov knew he had crossed the limits of what was acceptable to traditional science. The idea that consciousness could be measured, influenced, and even shared sounded like academic heresy. However, he wasn't seeking approval, he was seeking coherence. And it was in this search that he began drawing the first diagrams of an invisible reality, where each human being functioned as a transmitter and receiver of creative frequencies. These studies would become the basis of what he later called the invisible anatomy of manifestation, an energetic map of human power to create realities. Bentov spent months reconstructing each of the experiences in which he observed this energy transfer between consciousnesses. He drew, recorded frequencies, redid calculations, and gradually began to perceive something that would forever transform his understanding of the act of manifesting. What many called positive thinking or law of attraction was merely the visible surface of an infinitely more sophisticated mechanism. Manifestation wasn't magic, it was vibrational engineering. In the diagrams he produced, Bentov identified the birth of a recurring pattern, an energetic vortex. Every time someone sustained a desire with consistent emotion and focus, a field formed around that intention, creating a kind of subtle whirlpool, a centripetal force that began to attract particles, people, and events aligned with that frequency. This vortex wasn't a spiritual metaphor, it was a real energetic structure, a vibrational signature that began to exist in the morphogenetic field, the same field that Rupert Sheldrake would describe years later as the great organizer of nature's forms and behaviors. Bentov understood that each manifestation carried its own vibrational fingerprint. There were no two identical desires, even if they seemed the same in words. What really differentiated one intention from another was the type of emotion that sustained it, the purity of focus, the coherence between mind and heart, the constancy in the feeling of already possessing what one desires. It was this coherence that shaped the curvature of the energetic vortex. And the more stable this curvature, the more quickly reality around began to reorganize. But here emerged an uncomfortable truth, almost dangerous for common understanding. This vortex didn't belong exclusively to the Creator. Once formed, it became part of the collective field, open to any consciousness that could tune into the same frequency. Bentov called this shared resonance. Just as two strings vibrate in unison when one of them is played, two minds can enter into vibrational harmony when they share the same emotional state. At this point, any person capable of sustaining the same vibration could literally anchor themselves in the vortex created by another, and participate in its energetic momentum. It was then that Bentov perceived the dark side of the phenomenon. Most people don't do this consciously. They don't steal energy on purpose, but they do so through envy, comparison, or even unconscious admiration. When someone observes the success or brilliance of another person and feels an intense desire to achieve the same, this observation generates an energetic connection, a subtle mirroring between fields. The vortex's energy is partially diverted, divided, and the original manifestation process loses strength, as if an electrical current were diverted to multiple lit bulbs at the same time. Bentov saw this phenomenon as a type of vibrational piracy. The universe, in its neutrality, doesn't distinguish moral intentions, it only responds to the predominant frequency. Thus, whoever maintains the most stable vibration, most coherent and emotionally charged, ends up becoming the true conductor of that reality, even if they weren't the first to idealize it. That's why so many dreams seem to slip through the fingers of those who conceive them first, while others, with less effort, seem to achieve the same thing suddenly. This understanding led Bentov to formulate one of the boldest ideas of his career. The manifestation field is a shared space, and creative energy is, by nature, communal. The difference between the original creator and the vibrational parasite lies in the awareness of the process. The first acts with intention, the second by reflex. Both manifest, but only one understands what's really happening. Upon realizing that manifestation could be diverted, Itzhak Bentov began investigating how this process really happened. He knew the universe functioned in an orderly manner and that nothing occurred by chance, not even energetic drainage. Thus, he elaborated a detailed mapping of the subtle mechanisms that allowed one consciousness to access another's creative flow. He called this set of mechanisms the conscious vampirization protocol. According to Bentov, the process unfolds in 3 subtle stages, almost imperceptible to the common eye, but which repeat like laws within the quantum field of consciousness. The first is target identification. In this stage, the energy vampire, almost always unconscious of their role, is attracted by the vibrational luminosity of someone in full manifestation process. This person displays specific bioenergetic signs: constant enthusiasm, clarity in actions, and a peculiar magnetism that causes coincidences to multiply around them. It's the light of a creative flame that naturally awakens attention. The observer feels fascinated, inspired, or even restless before this energy, and, without realizing it, begins to synchronize with it. Bentov described this phenomenon as the first vibrational coupling. Simple focused observation already creates a link between auric fields, like 2 instruments tuning to the same tone. The next step is vibrational mirroring, the most delicate and subtle phase. At this moment, the observer emotionally internalizes the target's state, replicating in themselves the same type of feeling, expectation, and creative excitement. From there, an energetic bridge is established. The observer's field begins to vibrate in harmony with the original manifestor's field, and sympathetic resonance takes course. But the real diversion occurs in the 3rd stage, the most complex of all: intention redirection. Here, the consciousness that tuned into the other's frequency injects its own intention within the already existing energetic flow. It's like someone diverting the course of a river without altering the source. Energy continues flowing, but now part of it feeds a new destination. Bentov explained that at this point, the universe doesn't distinguish the original owner of the frequency. The quantum field only recognizes who maintains the most stable and coherent vibration. Thus, whoever sustains focus with more consistency becomes the predominant conductor of the manifestation. In his notes, Bentov detailed that many do this completely involuntarily. People who hear about someone's dream and, moved by intense emotion, spend days thinking about it, desiring something equal, end up connecting to the same vibrational vortex. They don't plan to steal anything. They simply align with the frequency and end up feeding their own field with the energy that was already in motion. The consequence is twofold. The original manifestor feels their creative energy disperse, while the other experiences sudden clarity, motivation, and synchronicity, believing everything arose spontaneously. The most curious thing is that Bentov didn't see this as something morally wrong, but as a reflection of the natural mechanics of collective consciousness. The human mind is, in essence, an interconnected field. Every radiated emotion seeks resonance, and every shared vibration tends to balance itself. The danger, he said, isn't in sharing vibrations, but in doing so without awareness. When observation is unconscious, the process becomes drainage. When it's conscious, it transforms into co-creation. Bentov warned that this protocol happened at all levels of life, between couples, co-workers, masters and disciples. Whenever one human being observes another with intense admiration or veiled envy, an energetic bridge opens. And this bridge, if not cut, transforms into an active channel of vibrational transfer. Itzhak Bentov used to say that energy doesn't lie. It simply changes direction when it encounters resistance, interference, or distraction. And that's precisely where the signs begin that something is draining your creative force. According to him, every authentic manifestation process has a natural pulse, a living cadence, perceptible even physically. When this pulse is interrupted, the person feels it immediately, even if they don't understand the reason. Bentov observed that during periods of intense creation, the human body became a living antenna. The heart beat in more harmonic rhythm, breathing flowed effortlessly, and synchronicities happened with almost mathematical precision. But when someone inadvertently connected to that field with misaligned vibration, the entire system began to lose coherence. Mental clarity diminished, enthusiasm weakened, and a subtle fog took over the creative mind. It was like trying to hear music through background noise. He described very specific symptoms of this process. The first was unexplained fatigue, that feeling of sudden tiredness right after sharing your plans with someone. It's not just a psychological impression, it's a vibrational consequence. When two consciousnesses connect through conversation, their fields exchange information and emotional charges. If the other absorbs more than they return, the balance breaks, and the manifestor's body feels the emptying. That's why certain conversations, even short ones, can leave someone exhausted, while others, with aligned people, recharge the soul. The second sign that Bentov highlighted was the inconsistency of synchronicities. When creative flow is active, the universe responds with a sequence of perfectly aligned events. Small coincidences multiply, decisions fit together, and the path seems illuminated from within. But right after specific interactions, this alignment disappears. Opportunities begin to delay, doubt returns, and the manifestor feels as if they've lost the timing. Bentov called this quantum interference noise. The intention field was crossed by another frequency, generating disharmony in the original pattern. There's still a third symptom, perhaps the most treacherous, the loss of the feeling of certainty. When someone is connected to their own purpose, there's an unshakable sensation that everything is already resolved, even before it happens. But if, after sharing your plans, this certainty dissolves and enthusiasm gives way to confusion, it's a sign that part of the creative energy was diverted. The mind tries to rationalize, but the heart feels something was lost. Bentov said this is the trail left by energetic vampirization. The most disturbing thing in his conclusions was the realization that vampires rarely know what they're doing. They don't plan to steal energy. They just feel inspired, energized, full of new ideas after a conversation with the manifestor. And the original creator, in turn, doesn't perceive the drainage immediately, only notices that their flame lost intensity. It's a silent, invisible phenomenon, but extremely real, like an underground current that changes a river's course without altering the surface landscape. Bentov warned his students, the greater a person's creative force, the more attractive they become to consciousnesses that unconsciously seek this same spark. The brilliance of someone who's manifesting something powerful serves as a beacon for those who haven't yet learned to generate their own light. And this natural attraction requires spiritual vigilance, not paranoia, but awareness. Because, he said, every energetic field can be restored, as long as the creator learns to recognize the signs and rebalance their frequency after each interaction. And it was from this understanding that one of Bentov's most enigmatic practices was born, a vibrational defense technique that he called conscious shielding. A way to protect the manifestation flow without needing to isolate oneself from the world, just by altering the language with which intention expresses itself. Every manifestation is born from a point of focus. A spark of attention that, sustained with emotion and clarity, begins to shape the invisible structure of the world. When consciousness remains firm in this state, it becomes the axis of a creative field, capable of collapsing possibilities and transforming them into reality. Quantum physics calls this phenomenon wave function collapse. But on the plane of human experience, it's the instant when the invisible bends before intention. At this level, there's no separation between observer and observed. When two consciousnesses focus on the same possibility, the universe doesn't judge who dreamed first. It responds to the most stable frequency. Reality organizes itself around whoever vibrates with greater coherence, and this coherence is determined by the union between thought and feeling. That's why many creators lose their ideas along the way. While they hesitate, another mind, tuned to the same frequency, takes the lead and materializes first. In the energetic field, it's like two miners excavating the same gold vein. The one who arrives with more conviction extracts the treasure, and the other is left only with the echo of discovery. This dynamic is impersonal. The universe doesn't privilege the just nor punish the distracted. It only responds to the dominant vibration. The one who maintains focus with emotional purity becomes the subscriber of the timeline, the first to seal the destiny of that creation. The other, even having dreamed before, feels only the residue of potential that drained away. They call it coincidence, bad luck, but what really occurred was a vibrational transfer. A silent race where the prize is the materialization of desired reality. When creative energy divides among multiple consciousnesses, the field loses density and manifestation weakens. The feeling of doubt is the first internal collapse. The second is giving up disguised as tiredness. And while this happens, another consciousness, perhaps more centered, more convinced, absorbs the same vibrational pattern and gives life to what was about to be born in you. On the physical plane, it just seems like someone had the same idea. On the subtle plane, it was a dispute of energetic coherence. Reality theft isn't a crime, it's mechanic. It's the natural reflection of a universe that responds to vibrations, not to intentions spoken aloud. Whoever feels more strongly creates first. Whoever doubts surrenders command. That's why keeping silence and protecting focus is so important. Each word spoken about something still being gestated opens small gaps in the energy field. And in these gaps, other consciousnesses can anchor their own desires. Every manifestation is a vibrational work, and the artist is the one who can sustain the invisible picture until it becomes matter. The secret lies in understanding that the universe doesn't distinguish authorship, it only recognizes coherence. And it's from this perception that the final teaching arises, the need to create an energetic shield, a code of silence capable of protecting what's being molded before it becomes visible to others' eyes. The true power of manifestation isn't just in creating, but in protecting what's being created. When intention is still a seed, the vibrational field is fragile, sensitive to gaze, to doubt, and to others' vibrations. Therefore, silence becomes an art, not as withdrawal, but as energetic wisdom. Ancient traditions called this initiatic silence. It's the state in which creative energy is enveloped by a layer of consciousness so pure that no external interference can access it. In this state, intention is encrypted, hidden under symbols, emotions, and meanings that only the Creator understands. It's like speaking a language that the universe understands, but that no other human ear can translate. Each time the Creator feeds their purpose in this intimate language, they strengthen it, until the desire becomes self-sustaining and unbreakable on the vibrational plane. This is the essence of energetic shielding. It's not about hiding, but about preserving the field until it's mature enough to sustain itself. Silence, then, isn't emptiness. It's the interval where energy reorganizes itself, aligns, and gains density. Within it, the Creator breathes, feels, and reconnects with the original flow. It's in this space that power returns, and clarity shines again effortlessly. There's also what some call vibrational decoupling, a simple yet powerful practice. After intense interactions, the creator closes their eyes, breathes deeply 3 times, and with each exhalation, imagines releasing energy threads that connect them to others' field. This small practice cuts temporary connections, returning energy to its original center. The field pulses in harmony again, free from influences, and creative force is restored. Another secret lies in external neutrality. Celebrating in silence, vibrating without fanfare, remaining discreet until the dream is complete. When something is still being molded, any premature exposure creates turbulence in the field. But when purpose has already materialized, it becomes untouchable. What's visible can no longer be stolen, only imitated. And that's why true masters vibrate serenely. They manifest, stay silent, and let the universe take care of showing the result. True wisdom isn't in resisting the world, but in understanding the flow that moves it. Whoever masters silence doesn't hide, they govern. Whoever protects their energy creates with purity. And whoever creates with purity transforms reality without needing to compete with anyone. And perhaps that's why so many initiates said that the greatest secret of manifestation isn't the how, but the when to talk about it. Because the power of a thought is proportional to the silence that surrounds it. True spiritual mastery begins when the creator learns to keep silence not out of fear, but out of awareness. Silence protects, focus strengthens, and energy becomes precise like a ray of light. No energetic theft is possible when the field is intact, when heart and mind vibrate in the same intention. It's in this state that reality bends and manifestation happens. Now, the question is, will you continue exposing your plans and allowing others to drain your power, or will you begin practicing the code of silence and observe the universe respond in silence with you? How many dreams could have become real if they had been kept until they matured completely? Apply this knowledge. Experience the difference between creating with haste and creating with presence. Observe how the world reorganizes when your energy stops dispersing. And if this message touched something in you, if it awakened an ancient memory of inner power, continue this journey with me. Subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and stay close to this space of learning and expansion. Here, each teaching is a tool to strengthen your consciousness, align your energy, and master the invisible field that shapes your reality.